All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am coming to you live from Chateau Snyder, uh, getting ready to discuss um, anti-inflammatory and the journey that I've had behind it, some background and reasons why I decided to, drop certain foods, add other foods, and it's really a matter of learning how your body responds to things. And just to first, I always, whenever I give these kind of nutrition talks, I always throw out that legal stuff that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I don't have any certifications that qualifies me to really provide any kind of advice or anything like that. But I have had my own experiences. I've used certain tools that have allowed me to better my life, and I am just letting you know what I know, and hopefully it'll help you. So, what what started out as minor joint pain, I was giving some thought to my family. My mom, just giving you a little bit of background, who passed away back in April, had numerous inflammatory matters going on, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, heart conditions, and so forth. And um, it's she started to go downhill really when I was a kid. I would notice that she would always be in pain. She would always pop Advil, and eventually it moved over to higher doses of medication and more frequent medication. She unfortunately didn't take care of herself, and in time it just exacerbated. And by the time that she passed away, she was on so many medications. She wouldn't want to, if she was invited to go anywhere, she would literally have to adjust her medication regimen in order to compensate for the time that she would not be home. It was very tough existence for her. And, she's missed, but I know she's watching. Um, so when I was about 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I started to get joint pains. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, you're 40, you're getting older. That's part of old age. You just have to deal with it. And I felt like there had to have been another way around it. There had to have been something that I could do to adjust my nutrition, exercise, something. The last thing I wanted to do was to go to the doctor who was just going to give me a prescription. There had to have been something natural to help combat it. And so I just did what any other person would probably do, and I went on the Googles and saw what the interwebs had to say. And what I saw was the fact more information about anti-inflammatory foods, inflammation, how certain things can be avoided. The big thing that I saw was the use of people dropping gluten out of their diet. And I'm not a big fan of dropping certain foods. I feel if it's medically necessary, if there's certain conditions that warrant it. Several years ago, everyone was going gluten free. Why? Because that was the trend. But it didn't. And I'll admit, I even looked at it. I wanted to get on the bandwagon, but I felt after a while that, well, I don't have celiacs. I don't have any other conditions or or sensitivities, I should say, to warrant me to drop gluten. So I went back to eating breads and pastas and anything else that I had in my diet. That I was still at the time I was meal prepping, or I am meal prepping, but I was using those foods. I would even meal prep spaghetti, whole wheat spaghetti, and actually literally um, portion out spaghetti in a yellow container, and then I would have my tomato sauce, and then I put in ground beef or ground turkey or something like that, separate using the red container. So it was actually pretty funny to see, this little bit of pasta and all this sauce and meat. But that's what I was doing back then. So I decided to look into this whole inflammatory thing, and I was seeing how it's a root cause of a lot of things. It's like the canary in the coal mine, and how it was leading to uh, various ailments, arthritis, diabetes, heart conditions, all the stuff I was just saying before. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, so why don't I just give it a try? What do I have to lose? So I said, okay, well, I have to drop gluten. And anyone who knows me knows that I loved my breads, I loved my pastas. I couldn't imagine ever giving that up. I always looked at people strangely who didn't eat that stuff. So I said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. What could I do to adjust that food group, or that food type? So I looked at it and I saw that I can use brown rice, or I can use sweet potatoes, or beans. So I was able to transition off the breads and go from there. I firmly believe that a lot of things that people are dealing with health wise can be avoided. And I mean, I know there's certain things, genetically speaking, that people just can't help. You're born with certain things. You're born a certain way. We can't help how we are, and we just have to pivot as we go, and just deal with what we have. But there's so much in our health that can be avoided. Many times obesity can be avoided. Many times diabetes can be avoided, heart conditions. And I didn't think that arthritis could be avoided, or at least delayed. So I figured, why not? I was petrified. I was petrified that I was going to end up in the same condition as my mom. My mom passed away. She was 68 years old. She was on oxygen. She couldn't walk. She lived on a 3-story townhouse that you enter on the bottom floor, and they had to actually install a. Or when I say she couldn't walk, she couldn't. She wasn't very mobile. I mean, she needed a walker. She needed canes. She couldn't go very far. Um, and so, in order to get up and down the steps of the house, she had one of those stair chairs installed that went from the very bottom floor all the way to the top. And it really bought her a lot of time in that house, because the house was really not for someone like her in her condition. Um, and I was petrified. And actually, just going back a tiny bit further, I started my health journey because I wanted to be able to be vibrant and strong and healthy for my kids. And what I was scared of was that I would be in my 40s and I'd start withering away, and I wouldn't be able to help my kids and be there. And I'd be popping pills and having to visit doctors constantly, and trading money for one thing, and spending it on medical expenses. And I wouldn't be around for my kids, and that scared me. Um, and so they became my why, and I decided to, at 34, finally get my act together. And I've been very fortunate that what I've been doing works. So when my mom became so, I'm gonna say, handicapped, that she couldn't move, she couldn't breathe. It frightened me to know that when my hands started hurting, and my elbows started hurting, and my knees started hurting, and my joints, they were just in pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't be comfortable. So I decided to be proactive with it at this point. I wasn't going to allow genetics to take over and my age to take over. As Tony Horton says, aging is for idiots. And so I decided to take the bull by the horns and change my diet. So I came across this whole anti-inflammatory thing. It's not a diet. It's really just I guess a pivot in your nutrition. It's learning which foods help you and which foods hurt you. As you know me, and as I know many of you, you use the little containers, the Ultimate Portion Fix system, and I've been using that for since it released. I guess was it 6, almost 7 years ago at this point, and so I decided, okay, well, you have all the foods on the food groups. Those foods are approved, but not all those foods are approved for me. So, yeah, you can have a bagel, a whole wheat bagel. Yes, you can have pasta. Yes, you can have an English muffin. Yes, you can have whole grain cereals or whole wheat cereals. Just the mini wheats without the sugar on top kind of thing. But it wasn't what was best for me. And so I looked at different foods. I said, okay, well, I'm going to pull out the pastas. I'm going to add more fish to my diet. I'm going to make sure that I'm using the right oils, and so forth. So I what I'm trying to say is that when I'm not saying everyone should be doing what I'm doing. What some people might be doing works for them. Some people thrive. Sorry, my nose started running a little bit. Some people thrive on keto. Some people thrive on paleo. Some people thrive on the Mediterranean diet. You do what's best for you. But what I'm challenging you with is to think, is to take yourself into perspective and see what works best for you. And if it's something like this, if you're having joint pains, before you go to the doctor and they prescribe you some pill, why don't you give an alteration in your nutrition a shot? um, for vegetable, it's really just eating the rainbow is what it is. Avoiding the processed foods, avoiding the trans fats, the hydrogenated oils. It's adding whole foods to your diet, purging all that stuff out of your system, to really get your body working fully for you. It's exercise, it's stretching, it's yoga, it's even meditating. It's a holistic approach to your life. And it's instead of going all out all the time with the hustle and bustle and running and going to the drive-through and passing out and starting the whole day tomorrow doing the same thing, take a step back and give thought to how can you change things, because if what you're doing now is not working, something's got to give. So I'm going to go down a list of things that I've done as far as food wise is concerned, and I'll just let you know. I mean, just going down the containers. For the greens, I'm eating. I put my meal plan out there every single week, and it's not necessarily to brag what I'm able to do. It's not really not bragging at all. I don't have to do it. But I do it to show my accountability, to give people ideas, to offer advice, and to show that I'm a busy dad of three working full time and a schedule full of stuff, and I'm still getting it done. Am I sacrificing time? Am I sacrificing other activities? Yeah. But I mean, that's the opportunity cost that's out there. So as far as the foods are concerned, you always see kale, broccoli. I'll even throw in some spinach. Those are the main vegetables I eat. I can't stand vegetables. I had to really work on myself to see how I could eat vegetables. Broccoli is something, even though I have it all the time, I might eat it first on my plate, just to get it out of the way. But I I know that it's very easy to one. It's not expensive. It's easy to find. I could buy it frozen, as you see. I put my frozen broccoli into my containers, and it's easy to portion, and I can go from there. Kale, I can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it. But it works awesome in my shakes. Same thing with bananas. I don't know if bananas is necessarily an anti-inflammatory foods, but what I love about bananas is that I can get a large banana and it counts as two purples. So I get two of my fruits out of the way right away, and it's thrown into my shake. I'm drinking it down. I can't stand the taste of them, but I love them in my shakes. As far as fruits are concerned, generally, they're saying that berries are really good for anti-inflammatory assistance. So I decided to eat blueberries. I'm also challenging myself to try and eat strawberries. I last week I undercut my blueberry purchase and I didn't have enough to eat, so I grabbed some strawberries I bought for everyone else and I just chopped some up and went from there. And I put it in my oatmeal and it's actually pretty good. So I am going to challenge myself again, and I'm going to add it to 2 jars this week. And so we'll see how that goes. Um, and so yeah, berries is something that's very good for fruits. Um, for proteins, they're saying that plant-based proteins is best. Oh, they really talk about fleshy fish, such as salmon or tuna or something like that. But I can't. I, I I haven't been able to make that jump to either a pescatarian diet or vegan. I always say going vegan is one big missed steak. So I just can't. I just, not that I can't, but I choose not to do it. So I do I eat red meat? I do. I'm going to be making some carne asada this weekend, or I'm going to start the marinade soon and have it ready for the grill tomorrow. And I'm just doing that because I'm celebrating that Chipotle put carne asada back on the menu for a little bit. But generally, it's for me, it's salmon at least twice a week, and generally, I'm eating it 4 times a week. And I'm also eating lean chicken, chicken breasts. And so it's kind of a my way of doing it. I just haven't been able to make that plunge, and I actually need the protein. I there's very few plant-based options that I feel would work for me. It is what it is, and again, it's what works for me. It might not work for you, and so forth. So with the carbs, with the yellow container, I actually, for my oatmeal, people might think, well, what, oatmeal, that isn't that like a, gluten, whatever it is. You can actually find gluten-free oatmeal. The Bob's Red Mill is what I use. I struggled actually during all this pandemic stuff to find it, so I went on Amazon, bought like 4 bags of it, and just like I'm hoarding oatmeal. Some people are hoarding toilet paper. I'm hoarding oatmeal. But you do what you got to do to get by. So yeah, I have my oatmeal. You see a lot of brown rice in my diet, quinoa, sweet potatoes. I've learned to like sweet potatoes. It was one of those things I could never stand. But I learned sweet potato fries are good. I haven't made those in a long time because my chopper broke, and I haven't been able to find one that actually properly cuts sweet potatoes. And I don't like to buy them because of what they put in sea salt. I personally avoid added salt. But that's just me. I do have Himalayan salt in the house, but I personally don't do a lot of cooking with it. It's very rare that I put it in there. So sweet potatoes, roasted, baked, air fried. Air fried is amazing. You could take a whole sweet potato and put it in the Ninja Foodie or your air fryer. It's out of this world. Add a little bit of coconut oil and cinnamon. It's absolutely amazing. Um, there's nuts and avocado and as fats. As far as oils, they talk about extra virgin olive oil. I use avocado oil. I'm actually going to do a video on oils because you probably see, well, not too many people probably use avocado oil. You probably hear more about olive oil or coconut oil. Um, but there's a method to the madness when it comes to oils, and there's a whole slew of oils that can either be good for cooking or bad for cooking, depending on that smoke point. I don't know what the exact term is. I call it a smoke point. And so certain oils are really good for high heat cooking. Certain oils are not good for high heat cooking. And really, olive oil is one of those oils that is not good for high heat cooking. It's great for, I actually add it to my rice when it's done cooking, and obviously it's all cooled off by then. It's great for dressings and things of that nature. But everyone cooks with olive oil, and I don't. I use high heat oils. Avocado oil is one of the better ones. Coconut oil is good, and but yeah, that's what I've been doing. Um, and then as far as also with oils, they actually are saying that the seed oils are not all that great for inflammatory purposes. Safflower oil. What else is out there? Sunflower oil, I believe. I can't remember some of the others off the top of my head, but yeah, they're just saying as far as inflammatory purposes, it's not good to have those. So I tend to stick with coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil. And then you have those free foods. One of the things that I always talk about in my post or some of the videos I've done has been to take advantage of those free foods. No one likes eating boiled chicken and plain rice. You got to liven up the food, and that's what I try to show in my posts and my videos, whatever, is that by spicing up your foods, by taking advantage of those free items, you can make chicken. You probably see me. Well, lately I haven't been too creative, but I mean, I've got so many ways to cook chicken that it's very versatile. You don't have to do the same thing each week. I might do the same thing a lot only because I like it and I'm the one that has to eat it. So might not garner a whole bunch of likes, but I don't do it for the likes. I do it to put myself out there so you guys can get some use out of it. And I hope it helps. If it does, if there's something that you need me to do as talk about or look into, or if you have some ideas, I'm all welcoming for any ideas and everything else. So, as far as those free foods, I'm sure you might have heard turmeric is something that is really powerful in anti-inflammatory purposes. Cinnamon, I throw that in my oatmeal and in my shake every day. Garlic, I cook with a ton of garlic. Probably almost everything I cook with has some sort of garlic product in it, if it's powder or minced garlic or whatever. Cayenne pepper is really good. I throw that into a lot of the foods I cook. And ginger. I don't do a lot of cooking with ginger, mainly if I'm making some sort of Asian dish. Some of the things that if you're cooking anything like if you put garlic, ginger, and cayenne pepper together, that's basically an Asian dish right there. If you take garlic, cayenne pepper, and cumin. That could be Mediterranean or Spanish or something like that, Mexican. Something that can really bring out flavors in that in your food with through those cultures and so forth. So that is really all I have. I see there's a few people on. Again, I wasn't expecting to get a ton of people to watch this live, and I know you're all busy on your weekends, and I'm busy too. But I really wanted to carve out some time to talk about this. So, I'll say if I can wait for another minute or so. I mean, this has been my spiel. I just wanted to at least give you some information that give you something to ponder about. So, I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to type something up now. I one thing that I will say when I do live videos, I don't a pet peeve of mine is when someone goes live and they start talking and they're like in the middle of a sentence and they go, "Oh my gosh, hi, how's it going?" And then they start talking again, and then they like, "Oh, I'm so glad you made it," and then they go back to talking again. So I like to go and do my whole presentation first. I do see people posting and I see comments. I just want to say hi, Leslie, and I see Sarah. I thinks this has been very informative. I just want to say you're welcome. I'm glad this helped. And Susan, Leah, thank you. I'm really glad you guys were able to hop on. Am I an expert at this? I'm not. I have no certifications. I'm just a guy that just read some articles online, and I'm like, well, this makes sense. So I decided to go ahead and take a shot. And if it didn't work, I'll just hop back on the pasta bandwagon. But am I perfect with it? No. On the weekends, I might get something. Will I have a slice of pizza? Yeah, I'll have some pizza. I might have some bread here and there. But as you see in my meal prep during the week, there's no gluten in my diet. One thing I do want to say, I've also dropped dairy for bloating reasons. I didn't see any purpose with it with me. So my meal prep has no dairy in it. Some people are like, "Well, how dairy?" Okay, That was a live pun right there. So I decided to get rid of dairy, and I went ahead and I'll still have some ice cream here and there. I might have some cake, which has gluten and well, sugar and butter and stuff like that in it. But um, nobody's perfect, and it's not meant to be perfect. There's balance in everything. It's not a life or death situation with me, and I didn't want to get to that point, and I don't want you to have to get to that point. So, Leah, you have a question. Are there foods that help with circulation? Um, I don't know. I'm not going to lead you in a wrong direction. If I don't know something, I'll say I don't know. I don't BS. So I could actually look that up because I'm actually curious. We can see, and if I find out, I'll let you know. If you find out, you can let me know. Susan, you're welcome. Um, that's Susan Wallace and Susan Billen. I hope I pronounced your last name right. I'm glad you like my meal prep ideas. I hope they are helping. I try to take foods that are common, and I try to make them healthier. If I'm in a restaurant and I see something that I really like, I'll do research on that dish and try to make it myself. One thing that I did was my Chipotle dish that I made. That was because I love Chipotle. And so I decided to do research on how do they cook their chicken and how do they make their rice. And so I just made my own cilantro lime rice. I marinated my chicken in such a way and grilled it up, and just throw in some beans and some vegetables, and I don't use the cheese, but there you go. I got Chipotle, and that's on the recipe list that I have online. If you guys are able to find it on the site. So Leslie, it's rare I have dairy now, but since cutting back, I've noticed when I eat ice cream on rare occasions, just how much it bothers me, and it bothered me, and it didn't realize it until it was. Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. It gets to a point, especially when you start the health journey. Um, you have that first, like, let's say you have a cheesesteak sub after going months eating clean, and your body goes like all Sanford and Son and be like, "You big dummy, what are you doing?" So it's like, what are you doing? And so your body just goes and fights what it is, and all of a sudden you're back to eating clean, and you find out it's not worth it. And that's what's best, is when you take the time to change the habits, and you see the value in eating the right foods, exercising, just changing the way you're living. And then uh, you you it's not even a matter of how things look or how much you're lifting, but really how better you feel. And that's what's great. And so you tend to start making the better choices. But yeah, I'm in total agreement. I'm in the same boat. I might have that ice cream and regret it later. Doesn't mean you're lactose intolerant. It just means that your body's just not used to eating that kind of food. And if you are lactose intolerant, they make those lactate pills. My daughter is lactose intolerant, so. But yeah, no, I mean it's pretty interesting. So I've been talking almost a half hour. I can't believe that. My lips haven't stopped moving for almost 29 minutes. So I'm going to you know stop here, and I'll actually look into that circulation question because I found that to be an interesting question, and so we'll go from there. But I hope you find value in this. For anyone that did not, well, actually, for those who aren't here, they're not even able to hear this. But I do have a Master Prep Theater YouTube channel. I probably is called Master Prep Theater. I don't know. It doesn't really have much content there. I don't really have that many subscribers, but if you want to go and press a little subscribe button, feel free. And I'll have this posted there soon. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know your weekends are very valuable, and it means a lot that you guys took a little bit of time out of your day to hear my mouth move. And I hope I provided some valuable content for you today. So I wish you a great weekend, and take care. Thanks.